Welcome back to my garden. Here we are, a completely new spot, one I've never even thought of using before, right in the very belly of this lemon tree. Why the new spot? Well, the kitchen door is being painted, so I went out the front door and went on a bit of an adventure. Of course, this does mean dealing with ants and strange lighting conditions, coping with all manner of adversity. And that's actually what I want to talk about today. Coping. Surviving. Thriving. In the past few weeks I've explored the idea of how one might deal with PDA, pathological demand avoidance, and something which I think I might, it would appear, have to deal with. And I guess we're all dealing with something. However smooth your life has been, even if it seems on the surface that it's been quite idyllic, in a sense what you are dealing with is the baggage of your ideal upbringing. What I mean by that is, however you grew up, you set in place certain automatic responses. Let's call it that. You learned how to deal with situations in a given way. And some of those may, in some sense, can I say hold you back? I think I can. Hold you back in as much as they set parameters, boundaries, that's probably a better word. They set boundaries as to what you will and won't do or achieve. And I think we all have to deal with that, because we grow up and we learn how to manage our lives, however good they might be. But that inevitably leads to a sort of conditioned response. And in that sense, we are surviving rather than sometimes thriving as we might. And our survival might be very comfortable, might be very pleasant, but it may not be all that it could be, or all that it should be if you were to lead the best life you possibly could, the self-actualized you. And I think pretty much for all of us, however rosy that picture might be that we paint, actually if we dig a little bit more deeply, there are situations that we undoubtedly could deal with better. And that's kind of what has provoked this video. I know I'm sort of flapping around, talking around the point, but it's been a week where on a string of occasions, I found myself behaving in ways, and I think I really don't want to be doing that, and yet I am. And I'm working hard not to, and yet I fall into these traps time and time again. I start doing something and it just becomes a sort of rinse and repeat activity. And very often we just kind of palm it off as procrastination or a sort of tolerable character flaw. Use two slightly different scenarios. One of the things that I've been doing this week has been going down chess puzzle solving rabbit holes and watching myself get puzzle after puzzle wrong, because I know I've stopped really concentrating and working hard at the puzzles, so trying to solve them well, I'm not solving them, I'm getting them wrong, and then immediately clicking on the next one instead of taking a time out, which I know I should do, but it's that old dopamine sort of cycle, and I get caught up in it. Another kind of area where things have gone wrong for me this week is where in situations I become incredibly impatient with a perfectly reasonable request or comment. And I know I'm doing it and I don't want to, but I do. And then I find myself becoming defensive, and that just makes things worse. None of these situations are life-threatening, or, they're not going to sabotage my future well-being or destroy my personal relationships. But my life would be much better if I didn't go down these little behavioral rabbit holes. And consequently, I've decided that it's time to actually really do something about that. Something different, something I haven't tried before. There's a book that I started reading some time ago by an author, Sir John Hargreaves, I'm not sure which. Anyway. And he's not a particularly well-known person. There is a Sir John Hargreaves who is very well-known. He's a billionaire investor type person in Great Britain. But this person has assumed the name Sir John Hargreaves as a sort of pen name for his own nefarious purposes. And his book is called Mind Hacking. And it begins with him telling a story of how he got in a world of trouble with the FBI. And the reason is actually quite amusing. He had cloned Barack Obama's credit card as a sort of prank. And he'd done this before Barack Obama ran for president. I don't know just how funny it is, but anyway, it was something that he was doing as part of a kind of marketing ploy or online attention grab, something like that. Unfortunately, when it became clear that Barack Obama was headed for far loftier stations than simply being a political figure, the fact that he had cloned his credit card, well, it drew the attention of the FBI, who came knocking on his door, and things got pretty messy from there on in, and partly became messy because he realized that he had a large stash of recreational marijuana in his house, and things spiraled out of control from there. All's well that ended well, and to cut a long story short, he took this as a sign that he needed to enter a phase of sobriety. And that led on to other things, and hence his idea of mind hacking. And without going into too much detail, perhaps I will in the weeks to come, see how I get on with the book, a lot of what he's talking about are really kind of meditation ideas, but very practical ones. And the idea is, the concept is that you have built up layer upon layer of sort of bad mental programming, and hence the mind hacking. You need to sort of unpick it and start telling yourself better stories, running better software in your mind. And it kind of came to my sort of my attention this week. That's not a good turn of phrase, but I can't think straight under this lemon tree. It's a sort of dappled light. I'm blaming that. But there are a series of little situations, none of them in and of themselves particularly serious, but it struck me. I have been going through these circles for my whole life. And it's time to change. So that's it. Change I must. I guess part of what's brought this on is the thought that I could carry on me being me. And it's fine. My life is wonderful. And I want to say, any of these things, not this video or any of the other videos, with to give the false impression that my life isn't anything but fantastic, because I think it is. And nor do I want to suggest that I feel that if I don't do something dramatic, I'm going to end up being a dreadful failure at this game we call life. Far from it. I think I can carry on just as I have been. And wonderful things will continue to happen. But I guess the big question is, a bit like when you're dealing with your phone or a computer, it started to get a little sluggish. Advice that I have been given is that sometimes cleaning it out, the whole operating system, and reinstalling it, or this week my wife was having problems with her phone, and it seems that what it was just too much stuff in the memory, so the phone had stopped working properly. So cleaning out the memory of all the clutter got things back on track. But I think our minds are like that. And every now and then, what we need to do is do a bit of a spring clean, get rid of a lot of clutter. But sometimes I think what we've got to do is upgrade our software. I've been a Windows man just because it was the cheap and cheerful option, no preference. And for a long time I was using very, very old versions. And needless to say, eventually that caught up on me. Eventually I needed to install a new version. Without being over dramatic, I think that's what I need to do right now. So that's a little bit of a kick-off video. I'm not sure where it will go next week. We shall see. Not sure where I will be. Probably not under this lemon tree. At any rate, that's it. That's it for this week. As always, I trust your lives are filled with joy. And until next week, from a sunny Brazil, ciao.